In this episode of True Crime Black, we look at the cases of two different black children who saw themselves meeting mysterious circumstances. In the first case, a teenage boy is seen on surveillance video getting into the car of his friend's mother. When his parents finally located him, he was dead. Then, we look at the case of a 5-year-old boy who went missing when his adoptive father leaves him in the car for a few minutes. The police aren't buying his story. Will we ever know what happened to Hassani Campbell? With that said, let's get started. Quawan Charles, a sophomore in high school, had a youthful appearance that made him seem younger than his actual age of 15 years old. After moving from the home he had grown used to, Quawan's family would see him leaving his house willingly. It is important to note that the teen's parents did not allow him to leave home without asking, which might lead some to consider him a runaway. The peculiar aspects of this case, such as the reported lock on Quawan's bedroom door from the inside, could even prompt some to describe the circumstances surrounding his eventual fate as a mystery. Sadly, it's a mystery that has the answers within reach, but unobtainable at the same time. What happened to Quawan Charles? Bobby Charles, also known as Quawan, was a soft-spoken teenager of 15 years. Despite his reserved nature, he held a profound affection for the outdoors and cherished his dog, whom he lovingly referred to as my baby. Quawan resided in a newly constructed and comfortable suburban development in Youngsville, Louisiana, alongside his mother Roxanne and her husband. But in late October of 2020, Quawan relocated approximately 35 miles away to Baldwin to live with his father, Kenneth. Baldwin is a rural town with a population of just over 2,200, and it primarily consists of families deeply rooted in the area. As the young man adjusted to his new surroundings, he faced the challenge of starting at a new school and attempting to forge new friendships. This endeavor proved to be particularly difficult for him due to his naturally shy demeanor. However, he managed to maintain contact with a familiar face from his previous school in Louisville. Gavin Irvin, a 17-year-old boy, remained a steady friend despite the distance between them. In contrast to Quawan's upbringing, Gavin's life had been marked by challenges. His mother, Janet Irvin, had a substantial history of arrests, including charges related to drugs, burglary, and receiving stolen property. At one point, she faced accusations of domestic violence and neglect by the father of 2 of her children, leading to a temporary loss of custody. Similar to Quawan, the Irvin family underwent a relocation around the same time. They settled in Laurelville, a town situated 20 miles away from Youngsville, in a small rented trailer. This area was plagued by poverty, and the trailers available there were mostly dilapidated, unstable, poorly maintained, or simply too old to provide a comfortable living environment. No one could have known that Quawan would become tragically familiar with this area. On the afternoon of October 30th, 2020, Quawan Charles went missing, just a week into his stay in the town of Baldwin. His father, Kenneth, became increasingly worried when several hours passed without any word from Quawan, especially because he noticed that his son had left his cherished dog behind. Knowing that Quawan was unfamiliar with the area and hadn't yet had the opportunity to meet many people, Kenneth realized that the only times the teen had ventured out of the house were for school and to take his dog for walks. That led to the ever-increasing confusion as to where he could have gone. At 7 p.m. that evening, Quawan's father resorted to forcibly opening his son's locked bedroom door, only to find it empty. Alarmed by his absence, he promptly contacted the Baldwin Police Department for assistance. Unfortunately, their response was sluggish, with officers suggesting that Quawan was likely attending a football game. In the initial days of the investigation, law enforcement entertained the notion that Quawan had run away, potentially returning to Louisville. They even questioned whether he had encountered trouble in the past. The police were initially reluctant to initiate a full-fledged investigation, but their attitude changed only when they stumbled upon CCTV footage from the afternoon of October 30th. At around 3 p.m. that day, the CCTV footage revealed Quawan Charles seated on a sidewalk, appearing as if he were anticipating someone's arrival. After a few minutes, a vehicle pulled up, and Quawan hurriedly approached and entered the car. Through subsequent investigation, it was determined that the car belonged to Janet Irvin, the mother of Quawan's friend. Within moments, several individuals emerged from the vehicle. Shortly thereafter, 3 people, presumed to be the Irvins, re-entered the car and departed. Law enforcement authorities theorized that prior to getting into the vehicle, Quawan and the 2 individuals ventured into the backyard of his father's residence to spend time playing with Quawan's dog. Janet's boyfriend, Tyler LeGros, was purportedly present with the Irvins during the time when the missing teen was picked up. Around the same time Quawan was picked up by the Irvins, his mother Roxanne had plans to collect him from his father's house for a haircut. It remains unclear why Janet arrived to pick up Quawan on that particular day, as neither of his parents had any previous acquaintance with the Irvin family, and Janet did not have permission to take Quawan. These events constituted Quawan's last known movements, providing authorities with an indication of the last individuals who had seen him. In an effort to gather more information, Quawan's family, accompanied by the police, visited the Irvins on November 3, just 4 days after his disappearance. Gavin Irvin, the 17-year-old who was the missing teen's longtime friend, confirmed that he and Quawan had spent time together at the Irvins' trailer on October 30, but stated that Quawan had left later in the day. At that moment, a decision was made that some say came way too late. The police made the decision to ping his mobile phone, allowing them to track its location. Tragically, the signal led them to a sugarcane field not too far from the Irvin trailer. It was there that they discovered the lifeless body of Quawan Charles. The sheriff's office informed Quawan's family that evidence of water and mud was found in his lungs, suggesting that he had drowned. However, it was perplexing as the drainage ditch where he was discovered had only ankle-deep water. The situation took a distressing turn when Quawan's family was shown the autopsy photographs, revealing a far more gruesome condition than they could have anticipated. The images depicted Quawan with severe lacerations on his forehead, a body bag soaked in blood, and horrifying disfigurement. Portions of his lips and left cheek were missing, exposing his teeth in a ghastly manner. Despite the shocking state of Quawan's body, the medical examiner attributed the damage to aquatic animals. This explanation led the family to draw comparisons between Quawan's facial injuries and the tragic case of Emmett Till, a young black child who was infamously brutally beaten and lynched by 2 white men in Mississippi in 1955. The 2 incidents sparked discussions and drew parallels across social media platforms. In a poignant move, Quawan's mother, Roxanne, made the difficult choice to release the graphic autopsy photos of her son. She expressed that it was a decision driven by the belief that the world needed to witness the reality of what had happened to Quawan. Roxanne drew inspiration from the courageous act of Emmett Till's mother who, in the face of tragedy, held an open casket funeral for her 14-year-old son. Much like her son's case, Emmett Till's body showed a young teenager who was badly beaten to the point of being unrecognizable. Following the release of the autopsy photos, approximately 100 individuals took to the streets outside the Baldwin Police Department and City Hall. Their purpose was to demand transparency in the investigation surrounding Quawan's death. They vociferously called for the removal of key figures, including the Baldwin Police Chief, the Mayor, the Iberia Parish Sheriff, and the Coroner. The protesters believed that the handling of Quawan's case lacked seriousness and fair investigation, asserting that the perceived lack of urgency was influenced by racial bias. Assistant Chief Sam Wise hit back at these claims stating, "We're all black in the department except for 2 of my part-time officers. We did the best we could. I'm black, the chief's black, we're almost all black here." In a news release dated November 5, 2020, the Iberia Parish Sheriff's Office revealed that they were conducting an investigation into the suspicious circumstances surrounding Quawan's death. They further stated that investigators had interviewed multiple individuals and were in the process of analyzing physical evidence. Subsequently, the Sheriff's Office issued another statement, disclosing their active efforts to track down the individuals who were with Quawan before his passing. They mentioned obtaining video evidence from an undisclosed source, which indicated that Quawan had been alone in the field where he ultimately met his tragic fate, both prior to and following the recorded footage. The police clarified that they did not request an Amber Alert for Quawan's disappearance since the footage of his departure indicated that he had willingly left his home in the company of two individuals, and there was no evidence suggesting that an abduction had taken place. In the meantime, an extensive search of the Irvins' trailer failed to provide any clues regarding Quawan's whereabouts. Then, just a few days later, the Irvins and another resident living with them were evicted from the trailer park by Buddy Chastand, a local mechanic whose family owned the park. Throughout the eviction, Buddy Chastand emphasized that it was unrelated to the death of Quawan, firmly maintaining that the two events were unrelated. During a recorded interview conducted by a private investigator hired by Quawan's cousin, Janet Irvin revealed that her son Gavin and Quawan had smoked marijuana together prior to Quawan's departure from the Irvin residence. Janet admitted that she did not report Quawan running away on that night. Witnesses reported observing the Irvins packing their belongings and vacating their mobile home after Quawan's disappearance. CCTV footage captured the family removing their possessions and loading them into a truck. The Charles' family attorney Ronald Haley reiterated that there is no more than 2 feet of water in the area where Quawan was found. He later told the New York Times, "Can somebody who's 5'6" typically drown in 2 feet of water? No, not unless there's another cause associated with that." According to the autopsy report conducted by the Louisiana Forensic Center on February 8, 2021, it was revealed that after consuming drugs at the Irvins' residence, Quawan was seen crawling in culverts near a school in a solitary manner. He exhibited combative behavior and made threats of self-harm, suggesting the possibility of a psychotic episode. In their pursuit of answers, the Charles family took the initiative to arrange an independent autopsy. They sought assistance online through a GoFundMe campaign, aiming to raise $15,000 to cover the costs. Remarkably, their plea garnered an overwhelming response, as the campaign managed to generate over $100,000 in support. Investigators reported that individuals associated with the Irvin family and their close circle claimed that Quawan had consumed a hallucinogenic substance, leading to his altered state, but a toxicology report conducted by NMS Labs indicated that Quawan had a blood alcohol content of 0.014%. The family's lawyers argued that this finding disproved the claim that he was under the influence of hallucinogens, suggesting that his death was not accidental. On February 9, 2021, Janet Irvin was arrested on charges of failure to report a missing child and contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Her bond was set at $400,000. In November 2021, Quawan Charles's mother filed a lawsuit against both the Baldwin Police Department and the St. Mary Parish Sheriff's Office. The lawsuit alleged that these law enforcement agencies had neglected to inform the Louisiana State Police about her son's disappearance. Additionally, the lawsuit named Janet Irvin, Gavin Irvin, and Tyler LeGros as defendants. It accused them of taking Quawan approximately 25 miles away from his home without reporting his disappearance or making any efforts to locate him. Following the discovery of Quawan's body, his family has been vocal in their call for accountability from the local law enforcement authorities, alleging that their response to his disappearance was delayed. They have criticized the police for not promptly informing local news outlets about the case and for their failure to issue an Amber Alert. It has been reported that the Baldwin police entered Quawan's information into the National Crime Information Center as a missing person or runaway, but they did not notify the state police, who possessed the authority to determine whether an Amber Alert should be issued. Quawan's family attorney raised concerns and publicly questioned whether the young man would still be alive today if the proper protocols had been followed. Once this became public, almost every local news station said, "We had no idea a child was even missing." Those words came from another attorney for the family. She told the Post, adding that authorities hadn't tried pinging Quawan's cell phone until 3 days after he disappeared. That's how they knew where to narrow the search for him. Baldwin police told a local news station that the office didn't have the ability to ping his cell phone, but according to News 10, cell service providers routinely ping phones on behalf of law enforcement. On February 5, a forensic autopsy report revealed no evidence of a struggle before Quawan Charles's drowning, but it did not provide a definitive explanation of how he drowned. In response to this report, attorneys representing Charles's family released a statement asserting that the only reasonable conclusion to be drawn is that Charles's death was a homicide. This case is still developing, and community members are still protesting the police's handling of the case. So far, there has not been justice in the case of Quawan Charles. Now, we look at the case of Hassani Campbell. Hassani Campbell was born on September 24, 2003. He had cerebral palsy, a neurological condition that affects motor abilities, which prevented him from running or jumping at the time he went missing. Due to his biological mother's substance abuse and health issues, she was unable to care for him. Consequently, in December 2008, Hassani and his one-year-old sister, Aaliyah, moved in with their Aunt Jennifer Campbell and her fiancé Louis Ross. No one knew that this move would be the beginning of a mystery that would remain unsolved to this day. Hassani's foster parents, who were in the process of adopting him, had been providing attentive care for his medical needs. The State Division of Children and Family Services had no concerns about the family. Behind the scenes, though, there would be some cause for concern. There were instances of domestic violence in Jennifer and Louis's relationship, and Louis reportedly had reservations about raising a child with a disability. Court documents also revealed that Louis once left the children alone at home while he went to the bank. There was also another incident. On July 31, 2009, Louis sent Jennifer a text message threatening to leave Hassani alone on a Bay Area rapid transit platform. He later claimed that this was only an expression of anger and that he had no intention of actually abandoning Hassani. Despite these concerning events, the couple vowed to care for Hassani. Unfortunately, that promise would not be kept. According to reports, Hassani was last seen on August 10, 2009, around 4:15 p.m. in the Rockridge district of Oakland, California. His foster father, Louis Ross, claimed that he drove both him and his sister in his 2002 BMW vehicle. He parked in the back parking lot of Shoes, a shoe store located on College Avenue in the 6000 block. Jennifer, who is the children's aunt and foster mother, was also the manager of the shoe store. Ross took Aaliyah with him inside the store, leaving Hassani in the car. Upon his return to the vehicle, Hassani was nowhere to be found. Despite an extensive search of the neighborhood, there were no signs of him. Given his cerebral palsy, it was unlikely that he could have wandered far on his own. Following the report of the missing child, the police seized Ross's BMW, placed Aaliyah under protective custody, and executed search warrants at the foster parents' residence on Roxy Terrace in Fremont, California. Ross underwent a polygraph test, which he did not pass. Jennifer declined to take the test, citing concerns about her pregnancy and the potential impact on the fetus. Law enforcement authorities showed a great deal of doubt regarding Ross's narrative of Hassani's disappearance. Despite the child supposedly vanishing in a bustling business district teeming with people, no one witnessed anything out of the ordinary, and search dogs failed to pick up Hassani's scent at the location where he was reportedly last seen. Neighbors of the family attested that they hadn't seen Hassani since approximately 2 weeks prior to the reporting of his disappearance. During the investigation, the police established that the last confirmed sighting of Hassani, apart from his foster parents, occurred on August 6 at a Walmart store in Fremont. On August 28, approximately 18 days after Hassani went missing, his foster parents were apprehended on suspicion of murder. Authorities aimed to accuse Ross of the murder itself, while Jennifer was considered an accessory. Jennifer was released on August 31, and Ross was released on September 1, as prosecutors concluded that there was inadequate evidence to proceed with charges against them. Both individuals continue to maintain their innocence. Nevertheless, they remain the primary suspects in the investigation surrounding Hassani's disappearance. In November 2009, following the birth of Jennifer's daughter, she and Ross ended their relationship and relocated from their residence in Fremont. Sadly, and very frustratingly, authorities have admitted that they are no longer actively searching for Hassani, stating they don't know where to look. Although Ross and Jennifer maintain he was abducted from Oakland, police continue to believe he was murdered by his foster parents. To this day, his case remains unsolved.